Hello guys, today I'm going to tell you about the architecture, the brief of architecture, the introduction of architecture, about the architecture, career in architecture, difference between interior design and architecture, and who holds the architecture. Basically, there is a COA, that is Council of Architecture, who holds the institutions of architecture. Once you have decided that you have to take the admission in architecture and you want to take the admission in architecture, the first thing you have to check about the certification of the college, that whether it is certified by the Council of Architecture or not, because it is very important that the college has to be certified by Council of Architecture, because after once you have completed your degree, the 5-year term degree, you will be given a license, you will be provided with a license. Without that license you cannot practice, you cannot work, you cannot teach, you cannot learn, and you cannot even share your knowledge with the students about the architecture. So it is very important, and it is very much the key to know about the institution, that whether it is certified by the Council of Architecture or not. So basically 60% of the population thinks about the architecture that it is a building, like architecture is just a building. No, architecture is much more than a building. Architecture is how you design a building. Architecture is the emotion of an architect. Architecture is how the architect plays with the spaces, how the architect plays with the area. Architecture is how construction techniques helps to indulge, how the construction techniques helps to uh, convert the imagination, the ideas, the concept of an architect into a reality, into a practical. So it is much more than just a building. Architecture is the art or practice of designing and construction building. Architecture is basically that you think of an idea and you just put some key points, that I want to design a bubble shape building. Suppose you were eating a chewing gum, and while you chewing the chewing gum, you get an idea that this circular shape, this bubble shape, I want to design a swimming pool, the interior swimming pool with an enclosed surface into a bubble shape, or the facade that has the curvy surface, the leveling facade that has a bubble shape. So that is your concept, and how you will transform your concept into the practicality, into the reality, that is an architecture. Transforming of an idea, transforming of an imagination into the practicality is the architecture. Architecture is both the process and product of planning, designing, and construction. Alone planning will not build a building, alone designing will not build a building. So planning, designing, and construction goes hand in hand to make an architecture, to make a building. It is a style and method of design and construction of buildings and other physical structures. It is a design activity from the macro level, that is the urban design, landscape architecture, to the micro level, that is construction of details and furniture. Basically, urban designing and landscape designing are these subjects, are the basically the main course of the Masters of Architecture. This is the PPT, this is the brief about Bachelors of Architecture. And in Masters of Architecture there are various 22 courses, like transportation, urban planning, urban designing, landscape architecture, and much more, in which you will get to know about the specification of particular subject. And in micro level, it is the construction details mean the flooring details, the joinery details of the carpentry, and the furniture details, the wall joining details. So it is much more. Basically architecture, or I can say the architect, is jack of all and master of none, because an architect has the knowledge of plumbing, electricity, the carpentry joining details, the floor finishes, the wall detailing, and much more. So it is jack of all and master of none. We study each and everything in the Bachelor of Architecture, but we never do the masterization or specialization in such things. So that is why we call architecture and jack of all and master of none. So in these two pictures you can identify very clearly that architecture is playing with the volumes, playing with the masses, playing with the surfaces. In the next picture, that the curvy surface tells you about the light, the facade of the exterior. So there are various architects that says, like for example, there is an architect Frank Lloyd Wright. He loves to play with the nature. For example, there is a building of him that is the Falling Water, in which you can see that that building is surrounded by the nature. I can say that that building is built in the nature because he has very beautifully utilized the falling of water from the hills, and inculcated that main feature in his building also. There is another architect that is Franco Gehry, and he loves to play with the curvy forms. There is an architect Le Corbusier. So for the Le Corbusier, I want to say that you will very well know about the city that is Chandigarh. Chandigarh is designed by the Le Corbusier only. For the Chandigarh, he used many concepts such as the sector planning, the neighborhood planning, the garden city planning. Basically, the main idea of designing a Chandigarh was that he wants that every sector could have its own market, that a person doesn't have to walk much more for a small thing also. So the next, actually he believes in forms and function, that is why he made that city very comfortable. Another is Louis Icahn. He loves to play with the materials, that he plays with different materials. Actually, the basic concepts he utilizes is the materials. And there is an architect Richard Meter. He loves to play with the light. So with this I want to tell you that architecture is much more than a building. It is not just that constructing a building is an architecture. Architecture is through which you are constructing a building, like the concept you are using to construct that building. Now the basic difference between the interior design and architecture. Interior design is like you play with the interior, and in architecture you play with the exterior. Interior designing is the space organization, the space space designing, the space organization of the interior spaces. Architect designs the exterior of the building, but interior designer designs the interior of the building. Architect designs the architect divide the interior spaces, but interior designer designs the interior spaces. So interior design is a space organization and architecture is the area organization. So this is the difference between the interior design and architecture. And another difference is architecture is of 5 years and interior design is of 3 years. Now about the architecture, architecture is a 5-year course, and I already told you that it should be, and it is a must that your college has to be certified by the Council of Architecture. It is a professional degree, and some colleges offer 3+2 degrees, in which they provide you with the degree of Bachelors of Building Sciences. And actually there are not much colleges that provide this degree. For example, there is a college, CCA, Chandigarh College of Architecture in Chandigarh. That college provide you with this degree, but it is not important that every college should provide, because it is just a diploma. And another point is that it is a 5-year term course, includes the 6 months or 12 months training. It varies with the college. Like IP University provides you with 1 year 1 year training, but this CCA or this PEC or Punjab University, I can say this Mumbai University, or I can say this Sushant, or this many other colleges provide you with a 6 months internship only. It differs with the different colleges. Now for the admission in architecture, you have two exams. First is JEE Main. In JEE Main, there is a paper 2. Paper 2 is for architecture. It is held on the same day, like after the first engineering exam on the first shift, and the next shift is for the architecture, through which the common colleges provide you with the admission, and with the next exam, that is NATA, National Aptitude Test for Architecture. This includes your aptitude part and your sketching part. Two parts are included in this exam, and all the private colleges and few government colleges require NATA score for the admission for architecture. So guys, in my next lecture I will tell you about some colleges that are good and like you can take admissions, and the cutoffs for that colleges, the NATA score and everything. So for today, thank you so much. Please subscribe for the below mentioned channel and like and share. Thank you.